to The World Meets in Wood Buffalo on Shaw TV. First of all, we're going to talk to Cheryl Cooper, who is a longtime resident of Fort McMurray and who's going to bring you the mainstream Canadian outlook to parenting. So Cheryl, can you talk to us a little bit about your parenting experiences living here in Fort McMurray?
Well, I've lived in Fort McMurray for many years and I raised an adult here. Children are children, of course, and so having that ground core belief that you're not raising children, because they already are children, that we're raising adults. And in my day, there was not a lot of technology that happened when I was raising my son. I mean, we were lucky to have a dot matrix, big archaic computer. Yeah. He's become a little more technology-wise that way, but I believe that in parenting that you have to be grounded in parenting and really ingrained in understanding that there's a commitment, that it's not a job to raise a child, it's an honor and a privilege to raise a child into adulthood, to become a responsible Canadian person. Resident, responsible citizen.
So it's obvious that she is more grounded and more like to the core in her beliefs about parenting, and I really want to see what is it on this side. So we're going forward to talk to Kwame, who's from the Ivory Coast, and he has 4 children. So he's an amazing parent. Kwame, how would you describe your experiences with parenting, and how is it different from how your father brought you up?
It is. Thank you, Mary. What I want to highlight is Africa is one of the amazing places where parenting is, dedicated to, men and women. The difference between parenting in Africa and here is we have those important things in Africa. Back home, we know that after those two parents helping, children, getting them involved in the community have to take the lead of educating children. And we've seen that much better there, because if something happened between me and my brothers, the community, if the member of the community can come and beat me if I do something wrong. Yeah, it is. It means that I'm not only my family children, but I'm the entire community children. So the difference between there and coming up here in Fort McMurray, I feel that it's different, because my children right now, they only use the gadgets. They don't care about their parents. They are alone in their place, and they're working together. Try to improve themselves of new technologies, and they try to find out if those things they can use the cell phone. And we've seen that one in our community, and we've seen that parenting back home is entirely different with parenting, our children right here.
Those days are so different from where we are today, and where the Xbox, the PSP, these are the playmates for our children. Is this really the life that we want for them? Is this really a choice that we're making consciously? I don't know. I think for me, I make a very conscious choice to give my son about 3 hours a week to play on his gadgets, and that's all. So we keep it in our bedroom. We don't let him to have it in the open space so that he can do whatever he wants whenever he wants it. So it's locked when we are not at home, and he can only access it on weekends.
I couldn't imagine being pent up almost in my house. That would be like a jail sentence almost, regardless of anything. But a little prompting to them to say, you know what, you better get outside and run around the block or something, because I see something, building there.
I want to say thank you to Cheryl for her comments, and we're going to take a short break now, but do come back to see the rest of our show. Welcome back to The World Meets in Wood Buffalo on Shaw TV. and we are going on the second part of parenting, and we're talking about the differences between parenting here in Canada versus the countries we came from. So I came from India, and one of the key things I remember was it was very much okay to, to spank my kid a bit, or, like just to tell him very, very strongly that something is just not acceptable. But when I moved here, I saw parents talk with their kids like they were puppies. And so I was like very surprised, and it took me quite a little time to understand that, I cannot talk to my children in the way I did when I was in India, because if I do that, my children will think that's rude, because they are exposed to kids whose parents don't talk to them like that. I will have to give them stuff that their friends have, because they will feel that, like they're not privileged enough to have some of those things. So that's what I did.
Yes, I mean, I think that parenting in Canada is more inclusive rather than parenting in Africa. I know that back home, we don't have a choice. Everything my dad have to say, we have to do it. The women stay in the kitchen and the man in the farms. Here, all the decisions as we take in, with the children, we share the decision.
Yeah,
Wife,
that's so true.
Women,
Yeah, that's so true.
Women and children, sharing the decision, and I can't, ask them to do something if they don't like it. That's why I make the decision to come up here to raise my children.
That's good, but is there something that you think I'm not so happy with? I should have had more authority because I'm the man of the house. Do you think that sometimes?
Yeah.
Hey, little pieces of our upbringing creep into how we treat our children and engage them, for sure. Yeah, you can't not. That happens. It just happens.
Very true. Because what I see is, sometimes I feel when I look at some families that I don't really understand where the authority is in that family. Who's the head of that family? And sometimes think, it's a child running that family more than the parents.
Yeah,
so
it is.
somehow it's a little skewed if you don't know where the authority figure is, because when you grow up and you go to a work setting, you will have a boss that you will have to report to. And so you need to understand the dynamics of dealing with authority. And if you don't in your home, then it's going to be extremely difficult when you grow up.
And it's not the same as it was. It was like that years ago here. And I can only speak from my past experience, but grilling into our son that respect factor, when you go to school, who's your teacher? Oh, Mrs. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, right? So I think families really need to ingrain that your kids are not your friends. You're not mom and dad's friend. You are mom and dad's child, and mom and dad rule the roost and not the children rule the roost, right? So that has to be clearly defined, right? Or you're going to be in trouble as a parent.
I'm so glad for all this, all the comments that I'm getting here. Really interesting discussion going on. But I want to say thank you to Kwame and Cheryl for their absolutely wonderful comments. And so we're going to take a short break. And so do come back. This is our show, the second show on parenting for the World Meets in Wood Buffalo on Shaw TV. Welcome back to the World Meets in Wood Buffalo. We're talking about parenting, and we just closed off with the discussion previously. Now we're going to talk about what do parents expect from their children as they grow older. So just from my perspective, in India, there is a law which says that the child has to take care of the parent, and if the child is found to not give the parent monetary support and help in his aging time and give him medical support when he needs it, then he's liable to legal, it's a legal offense and he can be charged. So in Canada, I don't see that to be a legal issue or anything like that, and it's not really an expectation of parents that the kids need to take care of them. In fact, I see parents having fun with the money they have, going on long trips, and I find that amazing because in India, infirmity and age just happen to go together, and everybody thinks that, oh, that person is old, he cannot travel, he cannot do anything, and I find that very limiting. But I feel it's great to have your kids to support you when you
Yeah, and there is an expectation here from our parenting that children understand finances, and children understand that at the age of 12 you can open your own bank account at the Royal Bank of Canada, the little Leo account and things like that, right? So they still have the concept of a dollar, like what it means and how to make an honest dollar. But there's no expectations, and it's not illegal if you don't want to look after mom and dad. Like, there's nothing, yeah.
What about you, Kwame? Do you expect your kids to take care of you when you grow older?
Oh, no, I say no. But I know that back home, you know, it's an expectation.
norm.
Yeah, you have to, it's a norm. You have to take care of your parents. So, I mean, because if they get older, you need to pay, you know, the minimum things they're gonna need, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's sometimes like people are linked with your parent. They have to, you know, send them money if you are, you know, outside the country. You have to, you know, sometimes.
So do you
send,
do it?
Oh yeah, every
Oh, he's
month.
a good son.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. So is there any legal connotation
Oh no.
where you
No,
are from?
No.
Okay.
No, actually, very recently in India we have this law. So in my case, like my dad passed away and my mom's with my brother. So it's my brother's responsibility. In every family in India, it's a boy's responsibility to take care of the
Yeah.
parents, not the girls, because the girl becomes part of another family, and she's supposed to take care of her mother-in-law and her father-in-law as compared to her own parents. How does it feel, Kwame, to bring up kids of different ages at the same time in Canada? Like, is it the same, like when you have a kid who's lived for some time in Africa and then come here, to some child who's just born here? How does it feel? Does it feel the same?
No, I would say I remember when my children were back home. You know, they were very polite. You know, everything I tell them, you know, they did. As soon as they get in the country,
They learn new rules.
You know, it is, and it seemed like they try to manage everything at home. I've seen that one, but you know, we're in Canada, so I get into the system more smoothly, and I deal with them, try to, you know, deal with any issue they have, and I think that it has been a great time because here we have more times, we spend more time with the children.
Yes.
This is the most important things in life.
Yes.
Spend time with your children, you know, and share, you know, everything you have with them, and
Yes.
this is how we can, you know,
Invest into
give
the
them,
future.
invest, and then, you know, share the legacy with them.
Yeah. I thank you for this lovely discussion that we had on parenting. It brought so many different perspectives to it. Thank you very much, Cheryl and Kwame, for bringing those different aspects to this discussion. And we're going to say goodbye from The World Meets in Wood Buffalo. Thank you very much for joining us.